You what? Yeah. Good job, local. There you go. Go. So the macro for B is to make the macro for it. For the macro is scrap deck.
Hey folks, this is Kalani. In the most recent video about how to make gold right at the start of an expansion, I briefly talked about the scrapper and how it's going to be fairly important because it looks like it's the only source of a rare crafting material called expulsum. Well, let's take a bit of a closer look at the whole system because if you're a crafter, you're definitely going to want to know how this whole thing works. But even if you're not too bothered about the expulsum, the scrapping mechanic could potentially make you quite a bit of gold when compared to just throwing away your spare gear at the nearest vendor, or even disenchanting it. So let's take a deep dive into the new scrapper system and see how everything works right now. This has been changed a few times already, so I really wanted to weigh on this topic as late as I could. And with Battle for Azeroth releasing later today, I don't think I really could have waited much longer. So unless something absolutely crazy happens in the next 24 hours, no more changes should come to the scrapper system. Alright, so where can we find these scrappers? They're located in your Battle for Azeroth faction hub, somewhere near the profession trainers. For the Horde, that's on the bottom level of a Tal Bazaar, right next to the engineering trainer, and for the Alliance, it's just on the edge of this entire profession's corner, once again near the engineering trainer. Anyone can use the scrapper if not type of profession whatsoever. If you fancy scrapping a few bits and bobs, feel free to do so. Thankfully, the system isn't just a copy-paste of the Obliterate system, but you can only do one item at a time, and that can be enough. And its staff will work its way through all of the gear you throw into it. I'm sure an add-on will come along that makes this even easier, but honestly, I don't feel like you really need one, unlike the Obliterate. So what is the scrapper actually for? It works kind of like disenchanting, except instead of enchanting materials, you get back raw materials that would have been used to craft a similar piece of gear. So if you throw a plate here into the scrapper, you get some ore and blacksmithing materials like flux, because that's what would go into creating plate gear. Mail gear is going to give you scales and bones, leather gear will give you leather and bones, and cloth gear will give you cloth. When it comes to weapons, then it's depending on if you use the type of weapon. You'll get all the simple weapons like daggers, swords, and axes. To the scrapper, but it looks like higher item level gear has a higher chance of return, which makes sense. Right now, the scrapper seems to be the only source of expulsive. It has midnight of world class rewards for a long time. People are reporting grabbing up multiple gatherings cycles without being uncontrolled. It used to come from disenchanted items, but on from reports on data on websites like Wowhead, enchanters haven't seen any for a long time either. Dungeons drop hydrocores instead of expulsum, so it looks like we're just stuck with the scrapper. Expulsum is also buying on pickups, so you won't be trading it around while selling it on the auction house. Expulsum is used in every high-end crafting recipe, and a huge amount of the stuff is required for the 370 and 385 crafted piece of gear, so if you're a crafter, chances are you're going to be very interested in this stuff. It's also used in a lot of inscription recipes, so depending on what profession you're around with, you might either want as much expulsum as you can get your hands on, or not really care about it too much. So what should you do with this spare gear? Should you vendor it, scrap it, or maybe disenchant it? Well, I would say that's going to highly depend on when you get the piece of gear and what type of gear it is. I would scrap any and all jewelry you find. The chances of getting rare gems will always outweigh the vendor price of an item. After that, you're probably just going to want to keep an eye on the market for raw materials. If all leather and cloth is still selling very high, you'll probably get way more money from scrapping items rather than vendoring them, especially at the start of an expansion. If I were you, I would keep all of my leveling gear and quest rewards in my bags, and every time I get back to the main faction hub, scrap it all and throw the materials in the auction house. At the start of the expansion, you can make a good chunk of change just from scrapping stuff instead of vendoring it. Enchanters are in a bit of a weird situation because some crafting recipes do require explosive, the weapon recipes mostly. So if you want to craft some wands or staffs, you might want to scrap your extra gear instead of disenchanting it, at least until you get enough explosive to craft what you want. If you just want to make enchants to sell or to use, I would disenchant absolutely everything you get instead of scrapping it. Enchanted materials are often highly valued early on, so DEing could make you more vulnerable compared to scrapping. So if explosive is bind on pickup and it only comes from scrapper, which means it only comes from spare gear, how in the world do you go about farming stuff? That's actually pretty easy. Any form of content which rewards you with gear you don't actually need will help you farm explosive. Quests will be a decent source of this, and you figure most of them out because you're guaranteed a piece of gear at the end of certain quests. Either use it and scrap your old piece of gear, or just scrap a new piece of gear if you don't need it. After that, any world quests which reward gear are also going to be great because, once again, the rewards are guaranteed. Scrap it if you don't need it, which makes gear world quests pretty valuable as you progress in item level. Even if you don't need the piece of gear, it's more fodder for the scrap-o-matic. After that, you rely on a little bit of luck, because most other types of content don't guarantee loot. We can run through a few dungeons and host some gear drops for you. I'm sure in a few weeks every dungeon, mythic plus dungeon, or even raid you run will yield quite a lot of loot you just don't need. In Looting you would have vended it or disenchanted it, but in Battle for Azeroth you can scrap it for raw materials and more explosive. As a quick note, enchanters should definitely be DEing any epic items. Crystals are generally going to be worth way more than expulsion or raw materials, so keep that in mind. But what about alts? If expulsion is bind on pickup, doesn't that mean we can't really use alts for crafting without buying a whole bunch, just like how Blood of Sargeras worked? Sort of, but thanks to the
I also have been asked a few times how to unlock the world quests and the ability to fight the pet tamers. You just need to do the 3 zones and get friendly with each of the factions. So I'd recommend doing Trust Bar first to the Order of Embers reputation, and then to regard sound, I'd recommend only doing the east side bit for the freehold quest line. I'll leave a link in the description for my quest walkthrough guide on that, and then saving Stormsong Valley for last. That's a big zone, and you'll be nowhere near 120 after completing 2 zones, so you'll definitely need the 3rd one. Whilst doing these and progressing through your leveling, you'll be periodically given the war campaign quests. Halford Wormblade on the Alliance ship where your mission table is. When you level up, you'll be given quests to go and attack the Horde stand zone. That would be like, I think Baldur's first, and then maybe Nazgûl, and then Zuldazar would be last. I think that's the way it goes. So once you've completed the 3, friendly with those, quest 2, unlock the world quests, and if you've done the war campaign and got friendly, an R120.
Hey guys, it's me, Closure, coming at you with a quick tutorial on how to unlock the opposing factions area. Essentially what you need to do is you need to make sure that you first choose a zone to level in, especially if you're not 120 yet. You need to choose a zone to level in, and then you need to collect 100 war resources. So you can do this at level 120 by completing certain world quests, which award you quite a bit of war resources, or you can look in the wild, and I believe that there are treasures that will give you war resources, even if you're under 120, if I recall correctly. So yeah, once you have 120 war resources, you're going to get a quest called the War Cache, either from the give you war resources, even if you're under 100 resources. So you can do this, not 120 yet. You need to choose a zone to level in, and then you need to collect 100 war resources. So you can do this at level 120 by completing certain world quests, which award you quite a bit of war resources, or you can look in the wild, and I believe that there are treasures that will give you war resources, even if you're under 120, if I recall correctly. So yeah, once you have 120 war resources, you're going to get a quest called the War Cache, either from Nathanis Blightcaller if you are Horde, or you're going to get it from Helford Wormbane if you are Alliance. Once you have this quest, they're essentially going to make you do the sort of tutorial of the mission follower board on your toon. Once you've done that, they actually refund you the war resources, I believe, and then you'll be able to hand in another quest here at Nathanos or Halford if you're Alliance, and then that will unlock the Kul Tiran campaign, or the Zandalar campaign board in front. Once you have that, you just click on the board. I can't do it right now because I'm currently in an active campaign, but you'll be able to essentially choose which point of the opposing faction's island, pretty much, you would like to invade first. And that will give you access to the opposing faction's area. Mine is Kul Tiran, the Alliance area. I'll then get access to this, and because I'm level 120, as soon as I begin the quest and I land here, I think I'm currently doing Drustbar. As soon as I get here, I'll be able to start doing the world quests because I'm 120. So this actually is a good tip for alts as well. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked the video, please
ஒரு ஆச்சரியமான ஒரு பொம்மைகள் விளையாட்டு பொம்மைகள் நமக்கு விளையாட்டு இதே மாதிரி தான் பார்த்துருக்காங்க ஒரு பீஸ் கலாச்சாரம் ஒரு விஷயம் பார்க்கறதில்ல
வயசு என்னங்க அந்த கொடுக்கக்கூடிய மரியாதை அவங்க ஷார்ட்டா இருக்கும்போது நம்ம அவங்களுக்கு என்ன வயசு அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கு அவங்க பார்த்து வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு அவங்க என்ன வயசு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறாங்க I've had his 88 just to pray. He's going to be at least.
சாப்பாடு ரெடியாம்மா? ம்
அவங்களோட கஷ்டத்தை நான் அனுபவிச்சிருக்கேன்.
உயரம் குறைவாக என்னென்ன இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கான விஷயம் அவங்க பார்க்கும்போது
நம்ம என்னதான் பெரிய பசங்க கூட அவங்க பழக மாட்டேங்கிறோம் சின்ன பசங்க பழகிற மாதிரி நான் எப்படி இருக்க மாட்டேன் உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது இப்ப பெரிய கூட ஏய் அந்த மாதிரி போயிட்டு அவர் கூட இடத்துல காலேஜ் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் அவரு எல்லாம் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுங்க சார் ஆனால் அவ்வளோ அவங்க விளையாடுறாங்கன்னா அவங்க பெரிய பெரிய விளையாட்டுக்காரங்க ஏமாத்தி கல்யாணம் பண்ணி அவங்க வீட்டுல அந்த ஸ்கூல் தான் இருந்தாங்க அந்த வீட்டுக்கு தனியா வச்சுருவாங்க அதை தாண்டி ஒரு 15 எங்க அம்மாவை கூப்பிட்டு நான் கிளம்பிட்டேன் சிம்பிளா விழுப்புரம் மாதிரி விழுப்புரம் பஸ் ஸ்டாண்ட்ல போயிட்டு எப்பா போய் எப்படா போகலாம் அப்படின்னா ஒத்தும் இல்லை எப்ப தாண்டி ஒரு பாட போறோம் அப்படி பாட போறோம் என்ன சொல்லுவோம் 15 இருபது ஓகே போய் நல்லா பசி ஏறலாமா வீட்டுக்கு போனோம்